Face to face, guys.
Guys, let's shut this out.
Hallo? Hallo, please. لا لا تبين please. يا جماعة لو سمحت. لا لا.
Oleksandr Usyk is a sportsman. So I didn't really feel like the only moment I had like a competitive moment with him was in the stare down. He wasn't blinking. He was just looking at me and staring me down. So I was like, okay, if this is what we're doing, I'm here. I can be here till tomorrow. So no, for the rest of it, I think it was exciting. It was good.
He's the number one. The WBC will order it. And if he's the interim champion, if he doesn't fight him, they'll have to vacate the title. That's why he's with us. You want Usyk?
Yeah, why not? I'm the number one contender. I want only the best sport challenge. I think the best sport challenges from Usyk.
The iconic face-off between Oleksander Usyk and Rico Verhoeven has set the stage, and now all eyes turn to May 23 for what comes next. Just days before the showdown, Rico insists he holds multiple advantages from his kickboxing background, reflecting on how he plans to fight this massive bout.
I think advantages you have as a kickboxer getting into boxing is that boxing is what I feel is, like I said, it's my opinion, is more of a controlled environment, especially in the beginning. So the fighters get like a good serious build up. Like, hey, try this and try that. Now we do this. Now we do that. And within kickboxing, just like, oh, okay, try this. Oh, you lost? Okay, let's try again later. No worries. I think it's a different approach, and I think that gives you more mental toughness in the later fights.
But beneath all his confidence, the fear and concern of facing Oleksandr Usyk begin to show, not just in his face, but in his recent statements as well.
Or else like I said, if you get easy fights all the way and then all out of the blue you get like a crazy strong opponent, you're like, oh, you get into the deep end and then you need to start swimming.
And this is exactly what Rico needs to understand, as Sean Porter sits down with Carl Froch to break down just how great Oleksandr Usyk is and why he seems unbeatable.
Moses versus 2028, Usyk. Moses has the best shot of his life in 2028, but might not happen.
No, it probably won't happen. It'd be a shame for Usyk to hang around too long and get beat by the clock.
But Usyk's like you, like me, like mentally, he's going to lock in, and you know, he's hard to beat. Yeah. So I think Oleksandr Usyk's gonna retire undefeated.
Yeah. He's fighting this fight, a bit of a mock time fight, a bit of a gimme fight, which he deserves. Dubois twice, Fury twice, AJ twice.
He's done it all.
You know what I mean? I'm hoping the AJ Fury fight.
And that is not all, as boxing commentator Adam Smith calls Oleksandr Usyk one of the greatest fighters, a true maverick who stands apart even among the very best.
In all my years of commentating on this great sport, I have never encountered anyone as intriguing or inspirational as Oleksandr Usyk. Amongst all of these icons, he is possibly the greatest maverick of them all. This is a career that should never have happened. The true greats were all honed from a young age. Yet Usyk did not jump any ropes until the age of 15. He'd not thrown so much as a punch, although he did receive one off a horse.
Don't push the horses.
I'd first heard of Oleksandr in 2008 when he picked up gold in the European Championships.
And behind this maverick lies years of relentless training and hard work. As Adam Smith highlights how Usyk's move to heavyweight never felt reckless but inevitable, with him taking down boxing's giants.
The move to the heavies is a path best trod carefully. And yet with Usyk, the jump never looked reckless. It looked inevitable. He knew when to turn a man. He knew how to take down the giants.
And here is the interesting part. Usyk now faces an opponent considered the king of kickboxing, Rico Verhoeven. Rico's coaches insist that what he can do in boxing, Usyk or any boxer cannot even come close to matching it in kickboxing. They believe anyone stepping into that world would be overwhelmed by Rico, while also highlighting how the difference between boxing and kickboxing is huge due to its fluidity and vastness. Yet it becomes a real challenge when the opponent is Usyk.
If I'm honest, boxing is tough. Another way, it's tough.
Yeah, it's.
But there's no boxer who can fight with you in kickboxing. You kill them all. What you can do in boxing, there's no boxer who can do that with you. In our own sport, in kickboxing, we kill them all.
Yeah.
So the difference, to be honest, again, it's the art. Boxing is the art. The finesse is brilliant.
I think that's definitely something we found out.
The biggest question is, what if Rico pulls off the upset? As Max Kellerman believes that if he succeeds, it would not just be a small shock but a massive one. He recalls examples from boxing history where major upsets have already happened, leaving everyone to wonder how this outcome could also become a real possibility. It raises the debate around probability, expectation, and whether another historic surprise is truly within reach.
I think there's a conflation between most significant upset and like a more against the odds upset. For example, when Cassius Clay beat Sonny Liston, that was it was an 8-1 fight, but it was a more significant upset because you know, Ali was 22 years old. Liston was when Muhammad Ali beat George Foreman. Ali is 32, and back then that was ancient. And Foreman's 40-0, 37 KOs in his prime, 25 years old. Bigger significance. Right. When Mike Tyson got upset by Buster Douglas, he's in his prime, invincible. More significant upset. Usyk is 39 years old. Right? He's very close to the end, according to him. He's only got 2 fights after this one. So I don't think that the upset would be as significant.
Max Kellerman and his panel frame it as an improbable upset rather than just a significant one, pointing to Rico's credentials and raw power. With his size advantage, physical strength, and the roughness he brings into the fight, they believe he cannot be ruled out. Mike Coppinger adds that if Rico manages to land a clean shot on Oleksandr Usyk's chin without him seeing it coming, the entire fight could change in a single moment, and Usyk's game plan could fall apart instantly under that pressure.
But in terms of actual improbability, I think it's more improbable.
Yes.
I think it'd be a more improbable win.
But one thing I think we have to say, and I'm not saying this to sell the fight, but this is heavyweight boxing. We're talking about, like you always say, it's not proportional, getting hit just because you're a bigger guy. Yeah. So you're talking about Usyk getting punched by a 6'6", 6'7", 280-pound man. If it lands clean on the chin and he doesn't see it coming,
but like,
no, it's not. He won't get hit on the chin. That's the whole thing. He'll never hit him on the chin. The thing is, when you're 270 and you know how to get torque on your shot because you strike for a living with your hands, it doesn't have to hit you on the chin. Right. You know, a welterweight's got to hit you on the chin. A heavyweight hits you up here. A heavyweight, you still might go.
There is also a pressure on Oleksandr Usyk to prove why he is the best no matter what. And Max points out that if this fight becomes competitive, Usyk should then be matched against Agit Kabayel or Moses Itama. He believes these are the kinds of matchups that would truly test Usyk's toughness, endurance, and ability to handle rising heavyweight threats, pushing him beyond experience into fights where every round demands absolute perfection and resilience.
I just feel like Usyk, this fight should be the bigger one if he loses, because you're going against a kickboxer. He's not a natural, just straight boxer.
Okay, here's another question, all right? If Usyk somehow has a tough fight, okay, he wins, but he has a tough fight, does that make a matchup with either Kabayel or Itama a harder call and therefore more appealing, right? Like, part of the reason that an Itama fight isn't a bigger deal right now is there's a sense maybe it's a beat too soon, right? Maybe he's too young, Usyk doesn't want to wreck him. People are like, yeah, Itama's good, but we'll all pick Usyk.
But the fact remains that Usyk has already fought giants and absorbed heavy shots, yet still showed elite levels, leaving a question mark on Rico's ability to put on a real test. Max Kellerman insists Fury lost twice against Usyk, and compared to that, Rico still hasn't shown enough. But Mike Coppinger is looking toward Agit Kabayel versus Usyk, while Malik Scott insists that Moses Itama is the fight he most wants to see in the future.
Tyson Fury had 12 rounds to go to school on Usyk, and still Usyk beat. I know Tyson Fury says he won, and Tyson, you are one of my favorite fighters ever. I love your reality show. But you're good for boxing. You lost both fights, like both fights. Like, and they were both great, entertaining fights. but they were decisive. At the end, I wasn't wondering who won that fight. I know who won.
I would have
gotta see it a
considered
third
Usyk
time.
got robbed if they would have given
Right.
it to Fury.
I got to see it a third time.
And the first time was closer than the second.
Yes.
Right.
Even with the knockdown.
Yeah. So, Atama.
And now the discussion around Oleksandr Usyk is blending both criticism and praise. For many experts, Agit Kabayel waiting in line despite being mandatory, while Usyk is granted a tune-up fight like Verhoeven, feels frustrating. Derek Chisora, who once gave Usyk a tough battle himself, sees no real problem in it, saying many great champions have done the same. He even advises Kabayel to stay patient and wait for his rightful turn in line.
If that's not an issue in your mind, for whoever's in line and it's their prerogative and you don't disagree with the principle of Oleksandr Usyk, who, by the way, acknowledges the fact himself that by Anthony Joshua giving him world title shots at a very early stage, his opportunities have been given. It surprises me that Oleksandr potentially didn't vacate belts back in the day, which caused Joseph Parker to fight Fabio Wardley and all the circumstances come out of that when those two could have been fighting for a belt. Is kind of doing the same thing to Agit Kabayel. What do you think?
As the discussion moves further, Spencer Oliver criticizes Rico for talking in a way that sounds almost delusional. He acknowledges that Rico is highly skilled within his own sport of kickboxing, but questions the logic behind his claims about size advantage and landing powerful punches on Oleksandr Usyk. Oliver points out that even much bigger fighters have tried and failed to consistently trouble Usyk, which raises doubts about Rico's confidence translating into boxing success. He suggests that the gap between kickboxing dominance and elite heavyweight boxing is being underestimated, especially when facing someone as defensively sharp, experienced, and disciplined as Zeke inside the ring at the highest level of competition. On the other hand, Jarrell Miller is rooting against the odds and believes Rico is going to shock the world. He shares his own time spent training alongside Rico in kickboxing and says that experience gives him strong belief in what Rico is capable of. Miller insists that people are underestimating him and that the power, confidence, and aggression he brings could translate into something special. In his eyes, Rico has everything needed to produce a massive upset on fight night.
I came up on the kickboxing scene with Rico Verhoeven, Glory in K1, phenomenal fighter in his respectable sport. If you want to go by the statistics, yes, the fight's favorite Usyk, yes, Usyk's supposed to win, all that, yes, we can say that, but I'm going with my boy Rico, man.
Tony Bellew suggests that if Rico Verhoeven finds a way to solve the puzzle of Oleksandr Usyk, it would not just be a shock, but one of the biggest surprises boxing has ever witnessed. He explains that on paper this is only Rico's second professional fight, yet he is stepping straight into a showdown with an undisputed champion who has ruled both cruiserweight and heavyweight divisions. Bellew stresses that Usyk is not an ordinary champion but an undefeated force who has cleared out elite opposition without ever looking troubled, making this matchup feel almost unreal in its scale and difficulty from the very start.
How does Rico go about trying to solve that puzzle of Usyk?
Be the greatest shock boxing's ever seen. If Rico Verhoeven is to defeat Oleksandr Usyk, it will be the greatest victory in boxing history. Yes, it's a second professional fight on paper, but this is a guy whose second professional fight is against the undisputed, unified former cruiserweight champion of the world, the current undisputed unified heavyweight champion of the world. He's undefeated. Nobody has been able to touch this guy. It's peak Oleksandr Usyk.
He continues by emphasizing that Usyk is operating at his absolute peak, having already defeated massive heavyweights like Tyson Fury twice, and dismantled dangerous punchers like Deontay Wilder during their strongest runs. This is not a comeback opponent, or a faded name looking for one last fight, but a fully active champion dominating the division at the highest level. Bellew argues that if Rico somehow manages to win here, the achievement would sit at the very top of history, so extraordinary that it defies normal expectations and completely reshapes what people believe is possible in the sport.
He's just defeated a man who's 20 stone and 6'9" in Tyson Fury twice. He's just defeated a record machine in Downey Dubois who was on the run of his life. This isn't a guy who's washed up having a comeback fight against somebody. This is a guy in his peak and in his prime. Put that into perspective. If Rico Verhoeven is to do this, it's off the Richter scale.
As the debate reaches its peak, one question still hangs in the air. Is this the night where history bends or where reality takes over? Usyk stands as the proven force, while Rico walks in with belief, power, and a mountain of doubt from every corner of boxing. Now all that is left is fight night, where every prediction, every argument, and every opinion gets tested under the lights. If you want more breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comments, and stay locked in for the next one.